Our first order of business is to call Rabbi Jamie Gibson to deliver an opening prayer.
Not quite Shabbat, we haven't lit candles, but Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I first of all want to thank everyone from leadership to volunteers to staff, everyone who has helped make this year a pleasure for me to drive over from Pittsburgh. My wife Barbara is here to celebrate this last Shabbat with us, and just the warmth and friendliness and commitment of this congregation have really gotten it through some tough times. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in my sermon tonight. But I have to tell you, I have a tremendous amount of admiration for you, and as there is admiration for you nationally with the Central Conference of American Rabbis and Union of Reform Judaism, for Reform Judaism, in terms of how the congregation has handled itself in crisis and found a way to move forward with strength and resilience. I want to thank the staff by name, and I had a list printed out. Okay? So I want to thank Cantor Rower, Jennifer, and I want to thank Lynn Nussbaum and Wendy Payne, Linda Dolgen-Duda, Marcy Keenley, and Grace Christopher, Stacy Oswald, David Jeffries, Elisa Carr, and Felicia Williams. I want to thank Karima Cashin and Andrea Russo and Bob Ray. Thank you very much for all that you have done to help me be the rabbi to you. It says in our tradition that it says, Aselecha Rav Knelecha Chaver. Make for yourself a rabbi, acquire yourself a friend, and I believe that I've been a double beneficiary of that this year. You have made me your rabbi this year in ways that I could not have even imagined, and we have all made each other friends, which I think is just incredible. In the short time, just once a month, and yet every time I visited, you've welcomed me with open arms and shared your stories and your lives, and I am richer for it. And I hope that some of the things I've brought to you have been helpful in terms of guidance and Torah. I did want to say that we're leaving the congregation a gift from my Rabbi's Discretionary Fund. The books for a house of mourning were terribly outdated, so I have bought an entire set of Mishkan Tefillah, the prayer book for Reformed Judaism for a house of mourning. There's beautiful poetry in here and songs and the traditional service as well, and I hope that you never have to use it. But if you do have to use it, I hope you're able to use this book. I have a special thank you to Janine, who has been my partner in crime all year long in terms of dealing with everything that the congregation has faced, and I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have made me a better rabbi, and I thank you for making yourselves my friends.
Next on our agenda is the Treasurer's Report by Dr. Andrew Pelletier.
Hello, everyone. No, I'm not trying to shuffle off a budget from 2 years ago for you. This is the one for 2022. Next slide, please. This is the review report. This is standard language from our independent accountant's report, which says, based on our review, we are not aware of any material modifications that should be made to the accompanying financial statements in order for them to be in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. So it is a good report. Next, statement of financial position. This looks a little different than mine, but okay. So you're seeing here 3 columns, 2022, this most current budget cycle, and then 2 past years for, no? This is the best treasurer's report ever. One in which you have no numbers in front of you. My prayers have been answered. Go fish. Next slide. Next slide. Aha. Are we in 2022 now? Yes, okay. So we have one column, which is the current budget, and then the last two for reference. You see our assets. With the exception of 2021, they are going up. It is up since 2020 at $8,604,286. Liabilities have gone down to $297,282, with net assets equaling $8,307,004. I was joking with Rabbi Jamie, this is going to be a little bit of a good news, not so good news report. You'll see what I mean. Next page, please, assets. You will see that a lot of what we're dealing with has been extremely consistent, especially when we get to liabilities in a couple of pages. And there has been literally one thing that has changed that has made this budget a little less glowing than the last. So for 2022, our cash assets are $632,216, slightly lower than last year, but above 2020. Receivables are up to $66,222. Property and equipment net, fairly consistent, though down from last budget cycle, $762,876. Investments, down from last, $6,535,549. Life insurance, of course, that never goes down. That's $512,229, and other assets equaling $95,194. So our total assets for this budget cycle are $8,604,286. Are there any questions on assets? All right, next slide, please. Liabilities, yes? Yes. All right. And that's where I'm going to do that. Yeah, okay. So for this budget cycle, accounts payable, $28,934. Accrued expenses, well within what we're usually seeing from cycle to cycle, $14,887. Other liabilities, down from last budget cycle, $19,990. Deferred revenue and advances to $233,471, leaving our total liabilities $297,282, which is slightly lower than you see from the last two budget cycles. Questions on liabilities? Next page, please. Our net assets. So here's where things get interesting. If you look at the 22 cycle, net assets without donor restrictions, $2,739,493, slightly down from last budget cycle. Net assets with donor restrictions, $5,567,511, which is down from last budget cycle, which gives our total net assets $8,307,004. Questions on assets? Oh, you would ask. Joe, help me up on this. Restricted ones are funds that are only to be used for certain things, narrow focuses, music, things. And non-restricted funds are ones that are just, you can be used for anything within the purview of the congregation. Other questions? Next slide. So here's where we get the kind of the good news, bad news. Okay. 2022, the good news. Thanks to your generosity and to the frugality and shrewdness of your board and staff, we have kept within a very good number from previous budget cycles. Dues, $771,734, which you need to know is significantly above what was budgeted for that budget cycle. So we thank you all for your generosity. You are giving more than we ask or expect, which is phenomenal. The second line, though, is the one change which makes this budget slightly less glowing than ones of past. Our investments have taken a loss. I'm sure any of you who have retirement plans have had the same thing in the last budget cycle. So out of our hands, nothing we did wrong. The market just tanked and took some of our investments with it. But remember, this is last budget cycle. We're already in the beginning of a bear market, so things are already changing. If you remember well from last year, see 2021, there's that over $2 million amount that I said, don't get used to this. This is what I was talking about. So the market had turned and we took a loss. But look at the rest of the numbers here and how consistent they are. Contributions, $293,000, a little lower than other years, but dues were up. Total support, $332,239. That, of course, is investments minus dues and all that, yields a lower number. But look at program expenses. Well within where we've been the last couple of cycles, $775,214. Administrative expenses, less than budget cycles of the last 2 years at $185,421. Fundraising expenses, slightly higher. We're trying to make sure that there's interest in the past year and keep activity going, $68,739. And this is what I think is a magical line here. The total functioning expenses for the temple, $1,029,374. If you look, it's extremely consistent with the past 2 budget cycles. We've really done well to manage our assets and what we have coming in from dues and other contributions quite well. It's just the market was not friendly to us this year. Depreciation, $105,069, leaving our total expenses $1,134,443. You see very close to the past 2 budget cycles. Sadly, though, leaving us a change in net assets of $800,000. And that was just the market shifting on us. Questions about this overall statement of the budget? Yes?
We're halfway through 2023. How do these numbers compare to this year so far?
Already better, yeah. Dues have been extremely strong so far this budget cycle. We're ahead of schedule on that. We have had some major contributions in the last 6 months, which have been very strong, and the market is doing better than it was. So all of these numbers are doing better this budget cycle so far. No bottom line yet. We're in the. Other questions? All right, thank you. Duly submitted.
At this time, I would like to call Jody Hess to introduce the slate of Board of Trustees, and we will be calling for a vote after that.
At this time, I would like to recognize there was a committee of members who we all met, and through the nomination process, we would like to nominate Cami Golding, Pamela Jackson, Dr. Courtney Levine, and Lori Zellman. So at this time, is it discussion? Or is it just?
Can we have a motion?
Can we have a motion to accept? Thank you. And a second? Thank you. Any discussion? I got 2 years to learn this. Any discussion? Yes. Sure, that'd be wonderful. Cami, I don't know if Cami's here. I don't think she is. Oh, she is. I'm sorry. Cami, do you want to stand up? And Cami Golding and Pam and Dr. Courtney Levine. I don't see her. And Lori. I know Lori's here. I saw Lori. Lori's right there. And then I don't know if you want any more information. Lori Zellman. All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Passes.
We kind of combined 2 things, so the rabbi has already given his remarks, and so I would now like to call Cantor Jen Rohr. But first, I want to give a special thanks to Cantor Jen for staying with us this past 2 years, for stepping in when we needed some pastoral care and other help because we were kind of on the negative side with clergy, and for all the B'nai Mitzvah training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We are so grateful for what you've done for us. We're so glad you are with us. Thank you. So come on up.
When our family moved back to Ohio in 2018, and I came back to the temple as your part-time cantor, just before Rabbi Sam announced his retirement. We all thought how nice it would be to have me around as a friendly, familiar presence to see us through the transition. 5 years later. If you had told anyone what was going to transpire during these 5 years, it would have sounded completely absurd. And yet, 5 years later, here we are. Here we still are. We have been rocked by crisis after crisis, and we have come together, and we have worked together. We have supported each other. We have been flexible and tolerant. We have been gracious and patient. We have picked each other up and lent a helping hand. We have shown ourselves to be the community we truly have always been, whether during a time of stability or a time of upheaval. We, Shomer Emunim, the guardians of the faithful, are a supportive community who cares for one another. Congregants, staff, and clergy alike, who respects the humanity in all who are here and works together for the betterment of our temple and for the betterment of the Jewish people. Whether we have a full-time rabbi or not. As I think it's pretty clear, when I was choosing a career path, I did not pursue rabbinic ordination. I have been encouraged towards that path by many colleagues and congregants, but as I think you all know, the cantorate is where my passion lies. Nevertheless, as I told our lay leadership over and over and over again in the past few years, for you, I was happy to do what I could to fill in over the past 16 months. Being that I don't even live here, there are many ways that I felt short. But I did have the wonderful opportunity to experience aspects of temple life that are usually fulfilled by our rabbi. Through giving sermons and divrei Torah, officiating at funerals, unveilings, baby namings, and weddings, and responding to pastoral needs, I had the beautiful opportunity to interact with you, our congregation, in ways I don't always get to. I've also had the opportunity to interface with the wider Toledo community through tours, classes, and meetings usually done by our rabbi. Throughout this period of time, I've been keenly aware of the ways that my time was not enough, of the many things I wish I could have provided, if only there were more of me or more time. But none of you have complained. You, along with me, have looked to the future with optimism, patiently waiting for the time when our clergy positions will once again be filled. This year, we were so incredibly fortunate to have the gift of Rabbi Jamie Gibson's presence during this challenging time. For one Shabbat a month, I did not have to worry about who was going to be covering services. I knew everything would be fine. But far beyond that, Rabbi Gibson brought us an energy and a deep level of scholarship that was so appreciated by our community. He has proved to be a wonderful team player, so adaptable and open to who we are and what we needed. We're so grateful for his refreshing outlook and passion for all things Jewish. While I'll say more about Rabbi Jamie tomorrow night, let me just say a big, huge thank you for all you have done for us. Also, I'm deeply grateful for the gift, as you mentioned, of the updated Shiva Minyan books, which will be so wonderful for our community to move forward. Also want to mention a special thank you to our other visiting rabbis. We enjoyed learning from Rabbi Julie Schwartz during her visit with us in February. A very special thank you goes to Rabbi Arnie Sludelberg, who worked his way into our hearts this year on his 2 visits, bringing us his unique spiritual presence and wonderful comedy show. Rabbi Arnie also helped out by providing emergency coverage during my vacations, along with the clergy team at Temple Beth Emet in Ann Arbor and Rabbi Alicia Harris. We're so grateful to all of them for helping us make this year work. After several years of careful thought, after making the decision and then changing his mind, and making the decision and then changing his mind, is he here? He's there. Our accompanist, our dear Bob Ray, has recently made the decision that he will retire during the upcoming year. Bob will be with us playing for our services this summer and through the fall High Holy Day season. It would be very hard to put into words all that Bob has meant to our community over the past decades. And luckily, I don't have to do that today. Basically, I don't know what we're going to do without him, but thankfully we have several months to find someone to attempt to step into his shoes. Please stay tuned for upcoming plans to honor and celebrate Bob on his retirement. We wish him the very, very best. Let's talk about our temple team. For many years, Lynn, Wendy, and I have had the opportunity to work together, and we actually think we make a pretty good team. But I never could have imagined the depth of Lynn and Wendy's ability to give until these past 16 months. There was not one time when we said we can't, or it's too much, or there's not enough time. Over and over, these 2 amazing women make things work no matter what, and beyond. In addition to going above and beyond to support me and partner with me, Wendy supported all of our parents and students, not only in our religious school, but in our family programming, planned our middle school trip to Cleveland and our high school trip to New York City, and remained a vital part of our mitzvah meals and an integral part of our community. And then just when you think you can't possibly take on one more obligation or event, then you meet Lynn Nussbaum, and you learn what's truly possible. Lynn is there for us in all of our times of need, from joyous Shabbats to gorgeous weddings, to meals of condolence, from all the constant demands of our aging building to committees to being an essential part of every single temple program. Lynn is the model of what it means to say yes. None of the things we do at the temple would be able to happen with all of our incredible staff. Not to mention that the temple would be a lonely place with all of their wonderful personalities and without their wonderful personalities and smiling faces greeting us each day. We all owe a huge thanks to Grace and Marcy, whose work in the office keeps all our questions answered, orders filled, and information coming out in a timely manner. To Paul, for all his work on our email communications and bulletins. To Linda, whose meticulous work on our finances keeps the temple running. To Stacy, David, Lisa, and Felicia, for making sure our spaces are cleaned and set up, and cleaned and set up, and cleaned and set up again. And of course to Karima and Andrea, the heart of our temple kitchen, for their delicious cooking and baking. Let's have a moment of appreciation for all that our incredible team members do to make this place the temple. The decision to step into the role of temple president is not one that Dr. Janine Huttner took lightly. Quite the opposite. Janine planned ahead for years, aligning the time of her presidency with her retirement, carefully considering what her priorities would be and setting goals for the temple. I don't have to tell you that aside from the carefully planned timing of her presidency, nothing went according to plan. No matter what situation we found ourselves in over the past 2 years, we were all secure in the extremely capable hands of our president. No task or request was too large or too small. Every single thing Janine has done has been carefully considered, wise, sensitive, and has kept the health and well-being of our entire community at the forefront. Janine, Come here, stop hiding behind the screen. Let me talk to you. We could not have been blessed with a more perfect leader the past 2 years. We have all learned from you how to maintain grace under pressure, to patiently consider the sides of every issue, to deeply value each other, and to keep our eyes focused towards the future, or in the sun. Your partnership has been truly invaluable and has created a strong foundation for us to weather any storm. We know that this is not the end of your leadership at the temple, and that you still have many goals you wish to fulfill, but allow us a moment to share our gratitude for your service. Please join me in showing our deep appreciation to our fearless leader. We'll get back to her. I have more people to thank. So this year, believe it or not, between Rabbi Gibson and me, we were able to make it through this challenging year with less than one full-time clergy person. The only way we were able to do that was by so many of you stepping up to the bima to fill our roles when needed. First, to our wonder, Dr. Andrew Pelletier. Come on up, Andy. I'm not sure what we did to deserve you. We're so blessed by your gorgeous voice, your passion for liturgy, your giving heart, and your incredible work ethic. We are so grateful for all you do for our community. We also want to bring up everybody else who joined Andy in clergy roles this year, everybody who was helping to lead our worship when no clergy were present. And so if you are here tonight, I would like to invite you to come up to the bima when I call your name. A very huge thank you to Janet Rogalski, Dr. Stephen Kramer, Dr. Samuel Adler, come on up, guys, Becky and David Burland. All of you always answered the call to take on a leadership role. To Fagi Benstein, our Fagala, and Dr. Bennett Romanoff, who shared words of Torah with us. To Joe Jacoby, Shelley Orenstein, Mark Jacobs, and Dr. Ernest Brookfield, all of whom volunteered their time and talents leading services over these past many months. To Risa Cohen, Kaden Greenblatt, and Esther Goldstein, who shared their gifts of song with us as musical leaders. And to Amy Nistel, my partner in our Shabbat morning yoga program, who gives of her time and talents to create this wonderful spiritual experience for all of us. If, God forbid, we ever find ourselves with unfilled clergy positions in this congregation again, we know we are in good hands. Give me one moment, I have presents for everybody. Don't go anywhere. Oh my God. That one I actually saved this date. There's more gifts later. One more round of applause.
Thank you.
We have to go. My friends, all together we have gotten this far. Just around the corner, a couple weeks away, is the beginning of our newest chapter. We'll welcome our new rabbi with open arms and look forward to all the wisdom, experience, and new energy she will bring. Let us pause together, take a breath, look around, and appreciate how fortunate we all are. Let us thank God with the Shehachianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehachianu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehachianu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh.
Thank you. I would now like to call Wendy Payne, our Director of Religious Education, for her remarks.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I just want to thank some people that are here tonight. Our school is only as good as our temple community, and we are so fortunate to have so many people volunteer their time in the religious school and our Hebrew school. And we're fortunate to have people come in and so many of you here today have come in just out of the goodness of your heart and done reading with the students, songs and sign language with the students, cooking with the students. Even if you're not involved every week, people always step up to help out. Unfortunately, I have a few staff members that will not be returning. They have been here for many, many years and given so much of their time, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate all that you have done and the way that you carefully planned out your lessons and were ready to go on Sunday mornings and just never said no to anything, just always went with the flow. So I'd like to invite up Mark Jacobs, Becky and David Berland, and Aaron Riley. And if we could all give them a round of applause and thank them for their time, I would appreciate it.
Thanks to all of you. Well, dear friends, what can I say? It's been a wild past 2 years. I don't need to talk about all the challenges that we have been through. Rather, I'd like to focus on the positives, many of which have already been talked about this evening. We have proven to have a very strong congregation. We have strong leadership. We have a very dedicated cantor, a very willing and energetic part-time interim rabbi this past year, an executive director who is dedicated to each and every one of our congregants, a strong religious and Hebrew school administered by Wendy, congregational volunteers who came forth to lead Friday night services, a very special and dear congregant who volunteered his voice almost every Shabbat service when Cantor Jen was not scheduled, volunteers for our congregational garden, volunteers for mitzvah meals, volunteers for the Rabbi Search Committee, volunteers to assist with the many house and ground issues that have occurred in this 50-year-old building, volunteers who said yes when asked to be part of the Board of Trustees, volunteers who dedicated their time to make sure our children have the best experience we can provide for them in our religious school and Hebrew school through our very successful religious ed committee led by Julie Rusko, and volunteers to lead us into the transition of our new rabbi who will join us on July 1st. In the 2 years to come, let us not let down our momentum as we still have much to do. We need to show our audacious hospitality as we welcome Rabbi Delson. We need to revive some sleeping committees, and I am especially excited about getting sisterhood, or whatever we decide to call it, up and running in some fashion that meets the wants, needs, and abilities of our congregation. Most importantly, we need to grow with this transition with our new rabbi, realizing that there will be changes that we will need to be open to if we are to remain vibrant and relevant to our Reformed Jewish traditions and engage our younger families while at the same time retaining the rich traditions that we love. I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve on your executive committee and to be president of this congregation during the past 2 years. Thank you, Cantor Rower, Rabbi Gibson, Lynn Nussbaum, Wendy Payne, Friday night service leaders, Dr. Andy Pelletier, and everyone else, including our non-professional staff, maintenance and kitchen staff, who made this past 2 years work. The list of those who helped us is long, and many have already been recognized by name, and I promise to keep my remarks brief, so please forgive me if I do not mention every name. In my remaining 2 years on the executive committee, I will do my best to assist in whatever capacity is needed. Let us all do our best to welcome Rabbi Delson and her family to our family here at Shomer Imunim, and to give Joe Rosenberg, our new president, all the support you gave me. Shabbat Shalom. The next, I would like to invite Rabbi Gibson up to the podium. I've had the honor of working with you over the past year. It has been a learning experience, a great experience, an enriching experience. Thank you for all your rabbinic gifts you have given us through this past year. They've been meaningful and memorable. You will forever be part of our congregation in a very special way. As you probably know, Toledo is known as the Glass City, okay? So we wanted to give you something that you could take a little bit of our Glass City back with you. So whenever you would look at it, you would remember us. So we had a special Judaic art piece commissioned for you. And so I hope when you look at it in your home and perhaps, yes, use it, you will remember us with fondness. If you want to open it now, you certainly can.
Why don't we share one of those? Really bad at boxes, Barbara. This is my exercise for the day.
They kind of go together. No, please don't play. We'll be back.
The suspense is killing me. By the way, I want to thank you for allowing me, and Ken or Jen especially, and Annie, for letting me go off script so many times this year that I was moved by a moment or something like that, and I decided to give my report instead of a prayer at the beginning of the service. So. Oh, look at that. It's gorgeous. Thank you. Let me get my detritus out of the way. I've been tasked to open the other ones too because they're different. By the way, nobody's enjoying watching me struggle with this more than Barbara. I just want you to know that. This is hilarious. Oh, it's a candlestick. Oh. Hold
The
that.
other one's like that. So
The other one's like that. So,
I want to let you know these were commissioned by a local artist by the name of Adam Goldberg.
wonderful.
And his great-grandfather was great-grandfather was a rabbi at B'nai Israel.
Fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll have more to talk about tonight and tomorrow.
Okay, it is now, you need some help? You okay? It is now my pleasure to introduce Joe Rosenberg, the next president, or now the president of Congregation Shobri Menanim. I have something for you. Okay? Here.
Thank you.
Okay, and a laminated copy of the Robert's Rules of Order. Okay?
Just what I always wanted. Well, I will keep this brief. I believe we've thanked people, recognized those that needed to. I did want to say I've had the privilege of serving as vice president under Janine for the past 2 years. And as others have mentioned, they were interesting, colorful times, many other euphemisms I could use, but we'll skip that for now. And it occurred to me that it seemed like we were jumping from crisis to crisis to crisis at some point, which is kind of human nature. We have biblical stories abound with it. We have phrases in everyday life. Oh, it happens. It is what it is. Tragedy befalls somebody and we say, wrong place, wrong time. But the inverse sometimes is also true. Sometimes we have the right person in the right place at the right time. We had dedicated temple staff who improvised to maintain an aging building, organize events, and feed a large congregation. We had a cantor who rearranged her schedule to provide continuity and care when we are hurting during a crisis. Board members to ensure that the mundane but necessary business of the temple can go on. A rabbi that traveled hundreds of miles every month to bring us his wisdom and guidance in our time of need. Temple officers who met every week to deal with the urgent business at hand during our recent crises. The countless members of the congregation who stood up when needed, when asked, who said, "What can I do?" Who taught our children, who cooked mitzvah meals, cleaned out closets, did that which needed to be done. The events that put obstacles in our place were not avoidable, but it is no accident that we had people who stood up and did what needed to be done. We have a strong congregation, a strong community. I'm proud to be part of it. I'd especially like to thank, again, one person in particular who was the right person in the right place at the right time, our outgoing president, Dr. Janine Hutner. I am nervous about following her in this office. She really set a new bar for what a temple president could be. Having just retired from an active medical practice, she put every bit as much effort, dedication, and professionalism into her new job here at the temple as president. She really did everything that could be asked of her and then did more. I was extremely happy that she was our leader during these times. I was proud to serve with her. I'm happy to call her a friend. And Janine, I'd like you to come back up here just for a moment as we have a gift for you. Thank you. No, we only did that for you, Rabbi. And of course, I'd like to invite everybody to stay for services and dinner after this. And as there being nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.
Joe? Let's say comes right after you were home. So reading in the middle of the Amidah. Jen, we're already confused as to who has which one of the share cards. I have two or three. I thought I had two. So.
Oh.
I have three. Okay.
Oh, hi there.
Hi.
That was like really painless.
What was it? Well, what's his hurry? Alan Miller has passed. Because Alan always had a raft of questions.
What?
I want to make sure Pam and Ivan are here for
Well, Pam has been here the whole time.
others up. He said, just the Behrman boys. They're all doing candles.
Yeah. I would say, I don't know, family? Yeah, you won't be able to see anything. Thank you. It's past 6:31 and a half.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
That was almost adequate. You know, every time I step here, I'm blinded by the light of your love. I want to say that this is an incredible opportunity for us to be together the last time. And we're going to sing some songs that you know and some that you don't. You know, Kendra, Jen, we want everybody to rip roar and sing in.
Always.
Hava Nashira. Sing. That's how you sing.
Actually, in your prayer book, page 643.
Oh, okay. We continue with lighting candles for Shabbat. Where are the Behrman boys and their families? We want a mob up here. Come on up. You can find this on page 120 in your prayer books.
Start over again.
Take two.
Okay. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generation of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Sarah, Naomi, light.
On page 124 of your prayer book in the middle is an English responsive reading that I've insisted we do all year. Because to me it exemplifies the kind of congregation that not only we want to be tonight, but to be every night. So I'll read a couplet and you read it after me. You read the succeeding one and we'll just share. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
If you'll turn ahead to page 138, you'll find the most famous of all Shabbat songs called Lecha Dodi, Let My Beloved Come. It is our custom here to sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Some of you know that I'm third generation Reform, and so I've asked for a tune from my childhood. It's very old, but it's lovely, and some of you may actually remember it. We're also going to observe the custom that I have introduced this year. In the last verse, I'm going to ask people to rise and face the doors. And in the last line where we say, Boi Kala, may the bride enter, we bow to the left, we bow to the right, and then greet everybody, Shabbat Shalom. If you know this wonderful old tune, feel free to join in. 138.
Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem ultiferet, veli tehillah. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha
Shabbat lechuvel elcha ki meko habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof mazeh b'machshava techila.
Hitoreri, kiva horech kumi ori, shir daberi, kevod Adonai, alayich nigla, lecha dodi. Please rise and face the Lord. Verse 9 is coming up.
עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה.
Please remain standing and turn to 144 for Chatzi Kaddish. If I made you sit down, I just have to make you get up again for Baruch Hu.
יגדל ויקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
בעלמא דיברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקדושה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
Please turn the page.
Baruch et Adonai, HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, le'olam va'ed.
We're on page 148, the blessing for the sun, the moon, and the stars. In English, we read together. Blessed are you, you can get there, 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe.
Skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Baruch atah Adonai ha'ari.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות
be seated. Turn to 154 for Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Now, those of you I've seen all year know that I've said this is one of the few passages the rabbis say must be prayed in a language understood by the heart. So you read the translation with me below. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you're away. When you lie down, when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand. Let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to you. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out. Adonai Elohechem emet. We're on page 157. Again, we read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired
by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let's continue to work for today.
On page 161 is a beautiful poetic rendering of what Hashkivenu means. At the top of the page, I invite you to read along with me. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'akol amo Yisrael al Yerushalayim. You turn the page for Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat, la'asod et Hashabbat ledorot hamerit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat, la'asod et Hashabbat לדורות המריט עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המריט עולם.
כי ששת ימים, כי ששת ימים, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המריט עולם. וביום השביעי
שבת וירש.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המריט עולם.
Please turn to 164, the next page. We rise as we are able to embody your spirit for the central prayer of the service, the Amidah.
Adonai sepatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot v'Imachot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע.
מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסירים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated, everyone. And just one quick change from the cue sheet. We're including the blessing for Shabbat instead of the reading of the translation of what we just chanted. So we're on page 173 at the top of the page, and I ask you to join with me, 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace.
May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day.
May this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh. Continue with the singing of Ritzeh. The next to the last prayer of the Amidah, the 7 blessings said every Shabbat and holidays, is called Modim. Modim is related to the word Todah, which many of you know is thank you. On the daf, the page that was given to you, you'll find a special rendering by a marvelous Israeli-American composer named Danny Massing. I'm told this was a special request. Was it? Well, that's great. Yes, I know, for you guys. So please follow along the Modim on the sheet that was handed out.
For the life you create each day, for the blessings of your love, for the light that you shine our way, for these many gifts we say, Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu lach, Modim. For each and every morning we give thanks. For the changing of the seasons we give thanks. For every dawn awakened, for each sunset we give thanks. Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu lach, Modim. For the waves that reach the shore, we give thanks. For the beauty of the world, we give thanks. For every cloud, for every ray of sunshine, we give thanks. Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu lach, Modim, Modim. We give thanks. Hatov shimcha ulachana lehodot. Modim.
Amen. On page 179, I just want to know, if you grew up in the Reform movement, how many of you grew up with the Union Prayer Book besides me? Anybody? I see a couple of hands out there. 179 is a variant of a reading that we all grew up loving because it talked about our hopes for peace, not just for ourselves, but for the world. On 179, I ask you to read at the top of the page with me. Grant us peace, the most precious gift, O eternal source of peace. Give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes.
Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul. May the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace.
Baruch
atah Adonai, hambarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom.
The Mishaberach this evening is going to be sung from the sheet that was given out, a beautiful rendering by Lisa Levine. It's a custom in this congregation to recognize those who are in need of healing of body, mind, and spirit, those who ache from physical pains, and those who suffer the daily pressures and the pains of addiction, those who simply are confused by their lives, And those who wish for healing of body, mind, and spirit, especially remember Judy Hirsch, who's on our list. I remember Jonah Hart, the 16-year-old who's facing brain cancer in my own community in Pittsburgh. And then we'll indicate to your part of the congregation if there's somebody for whom you wish healing. You might say the name in English. If you say the name in Hebrew, you say the name, then son or daughter of the mother, because in Jewish tradition, healing is the name of mothers. So please call out names of those for whom you wish healing and all of us to know about. Pray for healing of body, mind, and spirit for them all. Please either sing along or pray quietly along with the music sheet that you have.
Mi shebeirach avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Mi shebeirach imoteinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Mi shebeirach avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Mi shebeirach imoteinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer and bless us as well. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer and bless us as well.
We pause now for silent prayer. There are prayers written to evoke the Spirit that you may be feeling now on page 180 and 181. I ask you to maybe look at the prayers that are not written down anywhere but only etched in the inner parts of your heart. A wise rabbi I worked with for 7 years said there are only 3 prayers. One is, wow. The second is, please. And the third is, thanks. May you be able to pray one of those with your whole heart in silence. On page 645 in your prayer book, you'll find the prayer that we all pray for in the world that we live in. From Isaiah, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war. And I get to sing a duet with Jan. I've been in many congregations, not a lot of them have a choir like yours. Just nod to them. There's no applauding during a service, just nod to them in appreciation, and they're wonderful musical leaders, Bob and Andy and Ken or Jen. When I was 9 years old, my family moved 5 miles from Demarest, New Jersey to Englewood. New house was closer to my father's work in Manhattan, and it was bigger. Actually, it was a 32-room castle that almost broke my parents financially, but that's a story from another time. I was upset at the thought of moving. I had strong friendships where we lived, from my baseball buddies to the kids I used to hang out with on Saturday afternoons when we put pennies on the train tracks and picked them up after they had been flattened by trains that we stood too close to. The last day of school, just before we were going to move, one of my friends made a really hurtful comment about how I wasn't going to be missed. And I took it hard, and I went into a funk. Later, he and our gang came up to me on the playground, and he apologized. He said he wanted me to come over to his house and play after school. All our friends would be there, he said, but I was a stubborn kid, the way only a 9-year-old can be. I told him I didn't accept his apology, and that he wouldn't have said what he did unless he really meant it. At that point, my best friend, Paul, took me aside and told me to accept the apology and the invitation. When I kept fuming, he whispered fiercely in my ear, "Don't you dare screw this up. The whole plan is to give you a going-away party. Can't you take good news?" Get over what he said. Get over yourself. So sheepishly, I agreed. I went and had a great time with my friends. Sometimes you have to take good news for the good news it is. Now, our Torah portion, Shalach Lecha, tells a similar story. Our ancestors knew that the goal was to reach the promised land. They were still in the wilderness. So Moses had to each tribe appoint a scout, a spy, and quietly size up the land, its produce, and its inhabitants. And he gave them a specific set of instructions. Quote, when Moses sent them to scout the land of Canaan, he said, "Go up into the Negev, into the hill country, and see what kind of country it is. And the people who dwell in it are strong or weak, few or many. Is the country they dwell in good or bad? Are the towns they live in open or fortified? Is the soil rich or poor? Is it wooded or not? And take pains to bring back some of the fruit of the land. Now it happened to be the season of the first ripe grapes. And so they did. They came back with great news. The land was rich and fertile, grapes and figs in abundance, huge in size. The spies reported that the land was in fact flowing with milk and honey, just as God had promised when we were still in Egypt. There was caution as well. There were fortified cities and inhabitants who seemed very large. They would have to fight to establish themselves. There would be battles. Some of the spies were frankly scared, and they said, and I quote, "The country we traversed and scouted is one that devours its settlers. All the people we saw were of great size. We saw the Nephilim there." The Anakites are part of the Nephilim. "And we looked like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them." By the way, every bar bat mitzvah kid ever who has had this portion is encouraged to write their Torah talk about this verse about grasshoppers, not letting themselves see themselves as grasshoppers no matter how short they are up here. By the way, that point was so difficult. Our people split apart. 10 of the spies argued against going in. 2, Judah and Caleb, passionately disagreed. They said with God's help, they would succeed and take their place in the land. But the 10 then worked the crowd into a frenzy, so they not only wouldn't go in, they demanded to go back to Egypt. No amount of good news could make them set aside their terror. Some of you know what happens next in the story. God threatens to wipe them out for their ingratitude, and Moses once again stands between the people and God's anger. God relents, pronounces the people's fate. They would be condemned to wander in the desert for 40 years. Every one of those frightened adults would be no more. Their children, not them, would enter the promised land. They refused to hear the good news, only the bad. And so that generation was lost. Contrast that to the story of a wonderful sacred community in Sylvania, Ohio, called Shomer Emunim. A community that received bad news last year could have crippled itself. Terrible news that might have led to disillusionment and fear for its very future. But you, all of you, in the leadership of Dr. Janine Huttner, and the executive committee and the board, to the dozens of volunteers, to the entire paid staff, all of you refused to accept the difficulties you faced as a death knell. You saw that out of this crisis could arise opportunity, even as events played out in the media and the courts. After consultation with the Union for Reform Judaism and the Central Conference of American Rabbis, you engaged me to come monthly and for the high holidays. You took a chance on a retired rabbi. None of you knew, except maybe some of you knew that I was Elisha Harris's rabbi who grew up here. After a set of inspiring high holiday services, thank you, Jen and the choir and everybody for that, we began our serious work together. I taught kids and adults, led services with the incomparable Andy and with Cantor Rower, made pastoral visits and offered advice to the leadership about how to search for a settled, permanent rabbi. There were many ups and downs in that process, and it would have been easy to give up hope. Some of you put your fears in words to me. Do you know how hard it is to attract a really good rabbi to come to Toledo, Ohio? I heard many variations of this throughout the year. It made me think of grasshoppers who see themselves as small. And yet, after a careful search of candidates, you found Rabbi Lisa Delson. You invited her to come, and you made a great impression on each other. After all, as many of you know, Rabbi Delson has strong roots in the area from Columbus to Ann Arbor. You arranged countless gatherings so that everyone could get to know her and take their measure of her. And finally, the congregation leadership stood tall during its negotiations with her, coming to an agreement that I hope is wonderful for everyone. Unlike our ancestors, you said yes to the good news. You refused to give in to anger or despair. And I think you did so because you believe in the future promise of this place, not just its storied past. I know I believe in that future for you. I believe in it because every Kabbalat Shabbat I led with Andy, when we sang in wonderful harmony, I heard hope in your voices. I believe it because every Shabbat morning when our little band sang the service and gathered around the Torah to scroll to read the portion, I could sense your determination. I believe it because every Sunday morning when I came to teach kids and lead them in song, I could feel their spirit. I believe it because every bar and bat mitzvah student I worked with for hours to write their Torah talks, I sensed their commitment even as youth to their Judaism and to this place. I believe it because I felt the same working with your terrific teens, confirmation class throughout the year leading up to their wonderful service on Shavuot. And I believe it because every time I had lunch with adults and taught Torah to them, I felt their love and connection to this congregation. I believe it because every time I visited your homes, your elder residences, shared coffee and meals with you, I sensed your deep devotion to this holy community and everything it stands for. I believe it because every time I made silly jokes to the professional office and maintenance staffs, they laughed or groaned. It was proof that there was so much good here, it was bound to win in the end. In our Torah portion, our ancestors refused to accept the good news that the promised land is within reach. Here at Shomer Emanim, you have shown a different ruach or spirit, a wonderful sense of hope and trust and resilience. As a result, you are about to enter into that land of promise with a new rabbi who wants only to give and receive blessings with and from you together. I wish I could thank every one of you by name. Thank you all, I do. On a personal note, I want to thank my wife, my life partner, Barbara, for agreeing to my being here with you, and not with her, throughout this entire year. It has been my singular honor to serve you this year. I wish only blessings of health, joy, and fulfillment in Torah for you all, blessings without number or limit. All goodbyes are hard, I know. Some of you know that I'm a crier. But let us enjoy this moment, this Shabbat we have earned with our hard work, and this celebration we so richly deserve. For this sacred community, in this sacred moment, we give thanks to God and to each other. It is you, every single one of you together, that make this congregation a holy place. As Debbie Friedman sang, and we will in a minute, these are the gifts, the colors of our dreams, our prayers we bring to make a holy place where the Spirit of God and love will grow and thrive. This holy place, Shomer Emunim, a holy place, today, tomorrow, and on to the promised land, a very holy place. I ask you to find your song sheets, and I ask Andy and Jen to join me here at this pulpit as we sing Holy Place. Is that the right key? No, it's not.
No. That's right.
I need my glasses. They're so small.
These are the gifts that we bring, that we may build a holy place. This is the spirit that we bring, that we may build a holy place. We will bring all the goodness that comes from our hearts, and the Spirit of God will dwell within.
These are the colors of our dreams we bring into a holy place. This is the weaving of our lives we make to break a holy place.
We will bring all the goodness that comes from
prayers that we bring to make a holy place. These are the visions that we seek, that we may build this holy place. Let our promise together be strong.
Let our souls rise together in song.
That the Spirit of God and the Spirit of love
Shekhinah
will dwell Ivan, your time has come. Will you please come on up? I'm waiting for the mic to come on. Thank you. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and the God of our mothers and the God of our fathers. Ivan stands here ready to enter into a new chapter of his life. In our tradition, 70 is a special, special time. The Hebrew letters that make up 70, Kaf is 20, Nun is 50, mean Ken. Ken means yes. And you were a man who said yes your entire life. You said yes to Pam, you said yes to work, you said yes to your extended family. You said yes to here. You've lit candles almost every time I've been here. And you said yes with your smile. You said yes with your enthusiasm. You said yes with your values. You are the blessing of Ken, of yes, of 70.
Ivan, it's with gratitude for all that you bring to our community and all that you give that Rabbi and I now have the blessing of offering God's blessing to you with words handed down through the generations of our people, words that have blessed our people at every joyous occasion for generations upon generations. This is our blessing for you.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
Keni ratzon, may God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yechuneka.
May God cause the light of God's presence to shine on you and be gracious to you. Keni ratzon.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yaseim lecha shalom.
Keni ratzon. May God lift up God's presence to you and grant you the wholeness and fulfillment we call peace. Peace from within, peace in your life, peace with all those you hold dear. May that peace guide you into this next chapter of your life, for your labors are not done. You have so much to do and so much love to give. And together we say, Amen.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov! You know, I used to ask, please sit down. I used to ask Janine to come up and do announcements. She's no longer the president. Joe? Who's got the announcements? Jody, you have the announcements? Okay. Our president to be. Okay.
Andy? Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Saturday, June 17th, Parsha and prayer at 10:30 with Rabbi Gibson, followed by a Kiddush lunch at no charge. Saturday, June 17th at 6:30, we will gather to thank and bid farewell to Rabbi Gibson. We are so grateful that he has been with us this past year. There will be cocktails, mocktails, and grazing buffets. This is in red, my next line. If you didn't make a reservation for either of Saturday's events and would like to attend either or both, please find Lynn this evening and let her know, as you are more than welcome. We would love to have you here. Friday, June 23rd at 6 p.m., Shabbat Unplugged, led by Cantor Jen. The 34th Annual Interfaith Blood Drive is Saturday, June 24th from 8:30 to 2:30 at Grace Lutheran Church, 4441 Monroe Street. If you would like to donate, please call Alice Applebaum to schedule an appointment. Men's Chavurah is Wednesday, June 28th at 7 p.m. Please join us for Kiddush in the hallway, where we will have an opportunity to greet each other. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I want you to know, 3 months ago, I was so plaintive. I said, can we just get a minyan for Shabbat morning? And the last 2 times I've been here, we have, so it's fantastic. So I encourage people to come and be with us at 10:30, and this service is basically sung, and we talk, and we laugh a lot. So I hope that you'll be able to join us. If not, then for 6:30 tomorrow night. I think it's time for Elena. So I'm going to ask the congregation to rise and body your spirit. Turn to page 586 for Elenu. Reading before Mourner's Kaddish, before our yard site list. This was written by the brilliant poet Hannah Senesh before she died, trying to link up with the underground in Germany during World War II. It's on page 595. It talks about the enduring power of the light of each of our lives. Yesh kochavim shoram magia artsa rak asher hem atzmam avdu ve'enam. There are stars up above so far away, you only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, but their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We especially remember the yard sites of the following people whose deaths occurred at this time in years past: Suzanne Cohn, Robert Cooper, Stanley Dolgen, Joseph Featherman, Gerald Feldstein, Shirley Fox, Howard James Franklin, Max L. Harper, and Leora D. Harris. Mary Horwitz, Celia Kahn, Julian M. Kaplan, Aaron R. Liebenthal, Louis Leiterman, Dorothy L. Levinson, Ann M. Mazza, Harold Miller, Henrietta Noodleman, Ethel Romanoff, and Jack Romanoff Jr., Edward Rosenberg, Harry L. Seitz, Meyer Schiff, Herman Simon, Margaret Langsdorff Steinberg, Sarah F. Steinem, Abe H. Stockstiel, Helen S. Truhaft, Walter S. Truhaft, J.D. S. Wapner, Henry Weinman, Phyllis Weinstein, Arlene Wiederschein, and Clara H. Ziegler. And now we remember those as recent deaths. We still mourn Harry Schmidley, Barry Rosenthal, Ronald Miller. May all of them be taken into our hearts with our own. We rise as one community. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. Yid Gadol, Yikadash, Shemei Rabbah, Yalma, Divrah, Cheruteh, V'yamlich Malchuteh, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayedechol Beit Yisrael, V'agalao, V'izman Kariv, V'yimru, Amen. Yehi Shlokei Rabbah Mevorach, Olam Olamei Amaya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yipa'ar, V'yitrumam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitalev, V'yitalal, Shmei Kudsha, B'richu, Le'ela minko birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'yoma v'yimru, amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya, l'chaim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom b'momav, u'yachaseh shalom, aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. May the source of peace in the high heavens cause peace to descend upon all of us, all Israel, upon everyone who needs that peace in our broken world, on all of us here tonight, as together we say.
Amen.
On 657 is our final song, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Peace may yet come upon us. The middle part has an Arabic word, salam, which means shalom. If you know it, join in.
Od yavo shalom aleinu. 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 Ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Ve'al kulam.
Adonai Ozeh Amo Yiten Adonai Varechet Amo V'Shalom. May God bless our people with the strength that we need to make peace in our lives, our homes, ourselves, and everyone around, so that we may be blessed with the wholeness we all seek and deserve. As together we all say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.